Peter Thomas Fornatale here, not at the DRF offices in New York, but at Harvey Pack's apartment on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. Over the course of a series of videos, we're going to be talking to Harvey about some of the best stories from his decades in horse racing, broadcasting, etc. Can't wait to hear what he has to say. Then and now, there are characters involved in horse racing.
But not as many, because we're not there every day. I mean, it's very nice for little Andy to say, we'd like to thank our fans for being here. He should say, we'd like to thank our fan, because it's not a big crowd, but they're doing a great job, and they're helping the game, and the betting is going up. The handle's better than ever. So I don't know objection. I think they're doing wonderful things for racing. But the truth of the matter is, it's practically studio racing. Even at the track, they have a special room where they can all sit now. That's no good.
Thinking of characters you've known at the racetrack, Jimmy Clemenza, that's a name I've heard you say.
Well, no, Jimmy was we used to call him Handsome Jimmy, because he was very good looking, and he was well connected, and he came to the track a lot, and he was a very nice guy. And he was a good bettor, very good handicapper. And one day, he hits the pick six. And the announcer, in the pick six today, one winner, $28,000. And there was another guy who knew Jimmy, who was a degenerate sheep player, who's still there, I think. A good guy, but a degenerate sheep player. And he's coming down the big escalator at Aqueduct. And he sees Jimmy go, "Jimmy, Jimmy!" And he gets down the bottom, and he goes up to Jimmy, he says, "I'm the one!" And Jimmy says, "What am I going to do with this ticket then?" In the whole track, he found the one guy who had it. Great story.
Bragging.
Can't happen now.
That concept of bragging seems very important to horse
players. What would you do
players.
if you won a lot of money and you were alone at home? I'd have that happen, only I never win a lot of money. But I'm sure somewhere a guy's jumping up and down and can't tell anybody. You can call them, but they don't want to hear from you. And it's true. That was the great thing about the track. Arguing, abusing one another, having a winner, not having a winner. It was part of the camaraderie and what made it such a wonderful sport to be involved in. However, when they get that $1,000 entry in the $1 million contest, I'll pay attention.
When we were talking before about the Breeders' Cup, I meant to ask you about Pete Axthelm. Talk about one of racing's great characters.
Pete Axthelm was a very dear friend, and he had a problem, obviously. He died very young. But we were signed to do the Breeders' Cup. He was one, I was another, and we were going to do the twosome and do the races. And everything went well. And when we did, the first year we did it was in Hollywood Park. And Pete and I naturally went to the track. And of course they called a rehearsal and we weren't there. And we showed up and they made fun of us, but nobody really cared. And we did our job and everything was fine. The following year, it was at Aqueduct. And they said, "What would you guys like to do as a feature?" And I said, "I think I have a great feature, the subway to the track. It is one of the great things that happens. It's gone now, but it wasn't then. They were jammed in that subway. We used to have the first train going out to there was all Chinese waiters, because they'd go out, bet the first race, catch the next train back to go to the restaurant and get ready for it. They loved the game. And then the others would come and go. Everybody loved it. And so Pete and I said, if they'll set up sound, we'll do it on the subway, going to the track and everything. I said, great idea. It was my idea, and I said, don't embellish it too much. Don't worry, I won't embellish it. It's your idea. I said, you will embellish it. No, I won't. So here's where we started it. On 40th Street and 8th Avenue, you walk down to get to the subway, which is going to the track. The 42nd Street station goes down to 40th Street. So we started walking down with the camera following us down the thing. And so somebody stopped. Somebody said to us, a lady of the evening came by and he said, "Would you fellas like some company?" And he said, "We don't need company. We're going to the racetrack." And we kept walking. And NBC got complaints that he's insulting women and he was doing this. But it was still, I think, one of the great features. I can still watch it if I have the tape because it amuses me and it's good to see Pete again anyway. But we did it. The following year, he was fired. But thankfully, he hooked on to ESPN and had a great career there. But it was great. It was really fun. We did have fun.
Another character, legendary New York gambling character who's in your book and is in other books as well, Danny Lovezzo.
Well, Danny's very heavy in our books. Danny Lovezzo owned P.J. Clark's, and he used to come to the track with $400, which would be gone after 4 races. Then he would look, in those days, the man of war room, wherever the restaurant was, the maitre d' would do a little loaning on the side, knowing he'd be paid back tomorrow. 400 today, 500 tomorrow. And Danny always looked for him. And one day Danny said, I'm broke. Where is he? And somebody said, he's not here. What do you mean he's not here? Where am I going to borrow money? And he wandered around. He did find somebody, but he was very upset. And we used to drive out with him. And one of the rules, I know I put this in the book, you never wanted to sit in the back seat of the car on the left side, because Danny, like all of us born and raised in New York, we grew up with radiators, and we all have nasal drips. And since when we go to the track, Danny has just got up, because he played 4 in the morning, running the bar, and he used to spit out the window, and if you were there, pop, you'd get it. It was always the thing. Nobody wanted to sit in that seat. And another thing he did, we would go to Monmouth when we couldn't go to New York, as Saratoga was open. We'd go to Monmouth, and he would get on the turnpike, and it would be crowded. And he said, we're going to miss the first race. I said, take it easy. You got 2 hours. No, I'm getting out of here. You can't turn around on the turnpike. He turned around, used the policeman's crossing, went back to the original place. They took his ticket, and they gave him a summons. They said, you can't do that. But then he did another thing. We're going to the track. We're at Monmouth, and we're going off the Garden State to the road that leads to the track. And he sees it, they're jammed. And he says, there's a shortcut. You go over there, and he cuts across the highway, and he gets on a little line. It's a line for brake inspection for residents of New Jersey. We missed the double. But those were the stories. Missing the double is always a very important thing.
The boat? Isn't there a story about taking the boat down to Monmouth?
Yes. Pete and I took the boat to Monmouth, and a boat capsized while we were nearing Sandy Hook, where you got the train. And there were 3 people in the water. Help, help, help. And the leave them there. They'll get help. We got to make the double. And the guy, I said, look, he's going to stop. He did stop. And he got them back on the boat. And the people were sad. But when they went to look, the boat listed over there. But we made it. And they don't run that anymore. I remember once when we took the train to Bowie. See, people don't understand. In the old days, there was no racing. And if you were a degenerate, as we were, you'd go to Bowie. Stay 2 days and watch 2 days of racing.
In the winter months, you're talking.
Yeah, we went there once, and I think they canceled it or something, and we wanted to sue. But those are the things you did. You don't have to do it anymore. Betting horses is too easy now. It really is. I don't know where they find the loan sharks. They used to be loose at the track, but they still be around.
That feeling must have been something after a long winter for a horse player of having no racing locally when you had the opportunity to head back out there. What was that?
April 1st, New York Post, full headline. Hello, suckers! It was the whole page. And we were all trepsing out there. It used to be 35,000 on Monday, because waiters and bartenders allow them to have the day off, and then 60 on Saturday. Now it's closer to 60 than 60,000.